Welcome to Bring Your Brilliance. Are you ready to find and amplify your voice? Looking to be inspired by those who are already out there making it happen? Listen in as we shine a light on those who bring their full, authentic selves to do what they love, make no apologies, and don't try to fit into other people's boxes. With your host, Carla Taylor, who, after years of being inspired by the brilliantly shining people she was meeting, decided others need to hear these stories too.
Hello and welcome to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show. We are getting ready to finish out the year 2019, and tomorrow is the first day of the last month of this year. And so today we're going to be talking about creating clarity in 2020. And of course, we all love the fact that 2020 is also what we think of when we think of clear vision. So it really speaks well to this whole idea of clarity and having a clear vision for what it is that you're going to be doing really the rest of this year as well as next year. So don't count 2019 out yet. There's still work to be done. In fact, today is Black Friday if you are anywhere where there are retail stores in the world. And so a lot of people are, as business owners or people who might be trying to find ways to sell what they have to offer, today is a really good day, or this time. Tomorrow is also Small Business Saturday. Next Tuesday is Giving Tuesday. There's Cyber Monday. There's lots of different things to align with so that you can offer some really amazing offers to your fans and have that clear ask and actually maybe make some great money before the end of the year. So even if you've not done it for today, which some of you may have already done that, but even if you haven't, it's not too late. You've got the whole next month. You can do a lot of pre-sales even if you don't have things ready. There's a lot of things that you can do now to gear up for a great 2020. But today, we are talking about specifically how to create clarity. So first, do you know you need clarity so you can narrow your focus in 2020 and knock it out of the park next year? And really the next decade. We're heading into a new decade. Are you ready to finish 2019 strong and hit the ground running with a solid plan of action? So that's what we're talking about today. As this year comes to a close, we are entering a time of reflection and transition. As we celebrate Thanksgiving, which if you were in the United States, we did that yesterday, and for some of you, you may still have a bigger family celebration coming up this weekend. I know most of my family was out of town, so we had a small celebration yesterday, but we're going to actually have a bigger one this weekend, so it's still Thanksgiving weekend, and it's really a time of gratitude. And then, of course, followed by Black Friday, which is, most of you know probably what the name comes from, but it really is about making money and being in the black, and that's why it's called Black Friday, is because a lot of businesses operate in the red up until this day or this time of year when they have a lot of people in money spending mode for the holidays. So again, this is a great time to capitalize on that and have your clear asks ready and know how to have people engage with you in your content so that you can monetize. And then, of course, Small Business Saturday kind of came out of that. So local business owners said, hey, we want some of the love, and let's focus on small businesses on the Saturday following Black Friday. So that's kind of how that came about. So that's, again, focus on helping local or small business owners. And then what better time in all of this frenzy to actually pause for a moment and prepare for the year ahead. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but pausing in the midst of the frenzy sounds counterintuitive, but that's actually the very best thing that you can do to stop and create some clarity and focus as you get ready to go back into the fray. So it's really about getting ahead of the game and doing your planning now so that you can be ready to bring your brilliance in the next year. So that's what we're talking about today. And just to give you a heads up, of course, this whole year, I have been focused on walking the talk and not just helping everyone else with their success, but doing it myself. And that may sound funny if you've always been somebody who led the way by example, but I've always been the person helping everyone else and not doing as much work on my own business and on my own stuff. I'm just out there helping the people that I'm helping as they find their amazing fit and they do all of the things and they get incredible happiness and love and success and all the things that they've been looking for. And I have typically been the behind-the-scenes person helping. So in this past year, if you listen to my very first episode, even in July, you'll know that this is kind of a new thing for me to actually put myself out here, even starting with being on this radio show. So if you've been hesitant, please be inspired by my story that I am not 100% ready, never 100% ready. And I've also learned that done is better than perfect. So just getting out there and doing the thing that you've been wanting to do, taking action, and then the next step and the next step and the next step. So really all you need to know is the step that you're on. And that's actually part of the whole focus and clarity message is, yes, I'm going to talk about some other techniques to have a clear vision and know where you're going and everything else. But once you've set that and once you know where you want to go, you don't have to know all of the steps. If you just need to know the next one, And so just think about it like if you're driving across the country at night, you've got your headlights on and you cannot see all the way across the country. And you might even have your GPS to have a plan of where you're going. Hopefully you do. But whether you have that or not, you can see where you're going and you can get to the next part of it just by seeing what's right in front of you and driving there. And you do that the entire way and eventually you get to where you're going. And sometimes you're going to go off-road or there's construction or there's obstacles or there's things that take you off of your path that you thought you were going to be on. But you have a general idea of where you're trying to get. You might get halfway there and decide, I'm going to take a total detour and go somewhere completely different. So the GPS is great to have. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit about that kind of big picture, future vision of where you're going. But really, what you really need to know is what am I doing right now and next? What's right in front of me? And so back to what I was saying about practicing what you preach and walking the talk, I spent the last few days actually working on my Black Friday offer, and I've come up with what I think is going to be very exciting. I've had a lot of people wanting to be a part of my 90-day acceleration program. I have a power hour method that I have people spend on working on their business, working on their brand, working on getting their voice out into the world, and really taking action on the thing that they are working on right now. And so I have put together a really fantastic offer for Black Friday. Normally I charge thousands of dollars to work with me one-on-one or even hundreds of dollars to work in a group setting. But right now, just for a limited time, I am offering all of this information and system, and I'm actually going to have a course that walks you through how to do all of that, as well as a 90-day planner that I've put together to keep you on track for all of that. And all of it's available right now for only $37. Like, it's an insane price, I know, but it's Black Friday and Small Business Saturday and all of the things. So again, it's very limited time. It's only available now till December 6th. But if you are interested, please go to bringyourbrilliance.net. And if you do /resources, you're going to get to that. Or if you just go to the website, you'll see up in the corner, Build Your Brilliance. And that's where my offer is sitting right now. So please, if you're even thinking about it, take me up on this offer because it will not ever be at this price again. But I'm so excited to share it that I just wanted to make it super duper affordable and easy for you to get started and get going and get planning on what you're doing. And so speaking of planning and this planner, again, I started out talking about how crazy busy this kind of time of year can be. And oftentimes when we're trying to do this final push or we're trying to gear up for a great year, we just go and go and go and go and go. And we don't actually take the time to breathe and to just stop and pause. And what's so great about the pause is that is where the richness of life is. That is where we actually get more time when we slow down in order to speed up. And I actually was just working with a team who's been urgently going after a bunch of things that they're trying to get to. And as I brought in some more resources and some different things, we realized that this frenzy of activity, while it was all good stuff and it's all where we want to go, we hadn't taken the time to pause and to make sure we were going in the right direction. And that's what can happen when you pause, is to take a moment to take stock of where you are and what you're doing and how you're going and how you're growing, and recalibrate and realign. You might have already had an idea of where you were going, but you didn't necessarily stop and see what else you need to know along the way. And a lot of times we do this because we're worried. We have a worry or a fear or an urgency. And urgency is great. I love urgency. Urgency is what gets you to where you need to be. But pause. Take some time out. I love this Joyce Meyer quote that worry is like a rocking in a rocking chair all day, because it keeps you busy but gets you nowhere. So it feels like a pause might slow you down, but that's actually a good thing, because it slows you down so that you can speed up. It actually is not something that takes time. It's something that makes time. So pause so you can take time to make more time for yourself. And in that way, you're going to have time to get some clarity. You're going to have some time to really hone in and focus on what it is that you need to be doing right now and next. So if you hear nothing else from today, hear this. Take time out to pause. And you notice I'm going slower as I talk about this. Take time out to pause so that you can get so focused that when you put the gas back on the accelerator, now you're going as fast as you can exactly where you want to go that makes the most sense. So we're going to talk about, what do you want to do in that pause? What are the things that we are doing collectively here together on this show in this pause, which I really want this show to be, is just a time for you to breathe, time for you to take a little bit of time out of your busy schedule, out of all the holiday things that are going on, and pause so you can focus on what matters most for you, what you need to be spending your time on so you can finish 2019 strong and you can hit the ground running in 2020. But right now is the time to pause and get focused. So I'm going to give you some more details about what we're doing in the pause when we get back from our break, because it's already time for us to pause here in the show. So again, this is Carla Taylor. You are listening to Bring Your Brilliance here on the Inspired Choices Network. And we will pause for a break, and we will be right back.
We all have a personal brand. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. What if you knew how to clearly and confidently communicate your value in a compelling way? Tune in to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor to discover the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to get started and keep growing. Are you ready to make your mark? Learn how to bring your brilliance by listening to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor. To join today's conversation, call in the U.S. at 815-880-8255 or Canada at 613-800-8736 or Skype at Inspired Choices Network. Or ask a question or send a comment by email at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show. I am Carla Taylor. I am your host. Today is one of our success strategies, and we are here together on the Inspired Choices Network, learning about how to get clarity in 2020. So before the break, I talked about the power of the pause and how important that one tool is to get clarity in your life and to get really honed in and focused on where you're going and slowing down in order to speed up. So the very first thing to do when you pause, which should be something that you actually schedule into your life, it should be in part of every day, it should be part of every week, and it should be part of every month. And so I'll talk a little bit about ways to use those pauses in each of those settings, but at least every few months, you want to take a bigger pause, which is what I'm kind of talking about right now, is when you're really looking at what you're doing. And again, right now, heading into the end of 2019, heading into the new year and the new decade, you want to really be aligned with what matters most to you. So this is a time to take one of those bigger pauses, and it starts with your values. So get really clear on your values. And you may have done this type of exercise before, but your values can change. What matters most to you? Of course, there's going to be the big ones, family, it might be God, it might be the things that never change, of course, but there's also things that kind of move in and out in terms of values, and it just can be based on circumstances or things that just seem to be coming up for you and are important right now. So the first thing to do is recalibrate and realign with your values. I've got a fantastic values exercise if you need help doing this. Just reach out. You can send an email directly to me at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com, and I will send you that values exercise. But regardless of how you figure that out, look at your values, recalibrate. You hopefully have already written a list once before or many times before, so go back to that list and first just recenter on them, but also realign them and make sure that those are still the driving values for what matters most to you. Because if anything is out of alignment with your values, it's not going to work in your life. It's not going to fit. It's not going to feel good. It's going to take you off in directions you didn't really want to go. So that's the very first thing you need to do, and the very most important thing to do in that moment of pause. So once you've realigned with your values, and again, that's something to do in these bigger pauses where you're doing more reflection. And again, I'll come back to what you want to do daily and monthly and weekly. So we're looking at your values, and that is then where you define what works and what doesn't. So what are your clear yeses and your clear nos? And again, when you've got your values aligned and you know where you're going, those become really clear. So also take some time out to reevaluate if you've already made those lists of here's my yeses and here's my nos. And so then when you encounter them as you move forward and you're moving forward faster and you're accelerating, you're going to not be confused. You're going to know exactly what your yeses are and exactly what your nos are. You've got to also say no to the things that are taking you away from your yeses. So it's not just the yeses, it's the nos too that are equally important in knowing where you're going. Next, you want to focus on, if you're a business builder and you're trying to make money, you want to make sure you're focusing on money-making activities. Now, that sounds really, really obvious, but it's true. So many times people can get caught up in, putting information everywhere, and content marketing is amazing and helpful and incredibly needed for visibility. But make sure even that is balanced with time that is actually making you money right now. Same thing with networking. I'm a huge networker. I love networking. I used to go to every networking meeting. I was spending all of my time and a lot of money and driving all over the city, and I was networking and networking. I've got this amazing network. I'm very well connected in my community. I know so many people, and there are times when that's important and needed. And there are also times when you can cut out a lot of that. And when I got really focused on what are my money-making activities and spending a minimum of 30% of my week on those, and really it could be even more, I realized there was a lot of networking places I was going that weren't actually making that much sense for what I was trying to do. And so I really streamlined that part of my life to narrow my running around town and all of the things that I was trying to do. Or even if you're an introvert and you're not somebody who loves networking, but you're staying at home, but you're still running around doing a bunch of busy stuff even on your computer, and you're doing a bunch of searches, or you're doing a bunch of busy work, or you're doing a bunch of things that feel a little bit safer than putting yourself out there. You can get really, really busy on activities that aren't directly making you money. So at least 30% of your time should be spent on direct money-making activities, whether that's sales calls, whether that's meeting with prospects, whether that's creating products that you're putting stuff out there to sell. There's a lot of different ways to make money, of course. So make sure that you have identified some of the things that are currently making you money, or if you're doing something new or you're launching a brand new program or whatever it is, figure out the paths to money, the quickest path to money, as well as maybe a longer term play, and focus there, because otherwise you're never going to make it. You're never going to be able to sustain what you're trying to do. Even if you're an expert, a thought leader who's wanting to get your message out and wanting to be able to help people, maybe for you, that's even more, how do you get your message out? So whatever it is that's important that you're trying to accomplish, those are the activities you need to make sure you're spending on. So how do you have that big picture GPS, like I talked about in my previous example, and know you've got your values, you've got some yeses and nos that align with your values, you know some of the money-making activities you're trying to do, but where are you really trying to go? And maybe even some of the money-making activities comes after this next exercise. I probably am a little bit out of order here. But one of the most valuable exercises that you can do, and I know when I've been asked to do it, when I've done it for myself, it sounds a little hokey. And even having done it before and knowing how much it helps, when I'm getting ready to do it again, I'm like, this seems a little hokey. But I know it works, and I have had not only my own successes with it, but a lot of my clients have come back to me and said, this is the most important thing you ever made me do. So here it is. Write a letter to yourself. Yep. You are writing to you, but you're writing from 5 years from now. So right now we're heading into the end of 2019. So 5 years from now is the year 2024, getting ready to hit 2025. And what is it that the you in 5 years has done? What is your life like? And really take some time, and it's really wonderful if you have someone. I usually have my clients close their eyes, and I actually guide them through a, walking through their day kind of visualization exercise. But even if you're just doing it for yourself, and you're imagining waking up in the morning and opening your eyes and looking around and seeing what it is that you see. Where are you? What kind of room are you in? Are you in your home? Are you somewhere else? Is your home a different home? So open your eyes, look around the room, see what's in it, look out the windows, see where you are, see who's with you or not with you. Go and get ready for your day, and imagine yourself getting ready, and what are you putting on, and what are you getting ready to do, and where are you getting ready to go? And then when you get there, whether you're going out somewhere or you're even just walking downstairs to go get ready for work at home, but get to where you're going. And then again, look around. What kind of door are you about to enter, or room are you about to enter? And really take some time to look around. And then look at your desk, or look at your calendar, or look at your phone, or wherever you're going to look at your agenda for the day. Or maybe you have no agenda and that's what you're acknowledging. But if you have an agenda for the day, what's on it? Who are you meeting with? What kinds of activities are you doing? What are you so excited to see that this is how I get to spend this day? And when you've gotten to spend some time there and really notice what's going on in your life, and knowing you are living the life exactly that you want to be living, That is where you are when you're writing this letter back to yourself today. So write that letter as if it's 5 years from now, and you are telling yourself today how you got there. And again, your conscious brain will say, well, I don't know. But when you're picturing yourself there, you do know. You know where you are in that visualization. You know what that life looks like. So then you tell yourself now, here are the things I had to do to get here. And here are the things that I learned along the way. And it is amazing how much knowing we already have within us that we actually can see how to tell ourselves today how to get there. So if you've never done this before, again, like I said, it sounds weird, it sounds hokey, but it is so powerful. And you will surprise yourself to know that you know as much as you know about where it is that you want to go and how to get there. So that can then be where you calibrate, your yeses and your nos and your money-making activities as well, if you've been doing that for the first time especially. So the other thing that I am such a fan of, and I know, again, that this works, is to also spend your time, your day-to-day time, on your strengths. And again, this is one of those things that's going to actually make time in your calendar and your schedule and give you time and energy to do the things that you're trying to do when you are working in your strengths. So your strengths are not just those things that you are good at. Your strengths are actually the things that make you feel strong when you do them. They are the things that are tapping into your natural gifts and talents. And when you do those activities, you are completely losing track of time. You're getting in your groove. You know this is your zone of genius. You are so jazzed by doing that activity that you can't wait to do it again. Even if you're tired after doing it, you're physically tired, but your mental, emotional, every other part of your energy is so excited about that. And if you can do that every single day, your whole life will change. And when I first heard about this whole strengths philosophy, I kind of knew some things that I was good at, but I really didn't understand my own energy levels and what things I really, truly was energized by and wasn't. And it was only when I started really paying attention, and one of the easiest ways to do that is to just write down your schedule and write down as you do activities. If your schedule doesn't change much, you can do this for a week, but if you have a lot of variance in your schedule, then do it for 2 weeks. But write down everything you're doing and how you're feeling as you're getting ready to do it, as you're doing it, and afterwards. And you will start to unlock some clues to what it is that's giving you energy, what might be taking energy. And then there's also a bunch of neutral things that really don't matter either way. So you can't spend all day, every day doing your strengths. That's just not how life works. But here's the cool thing. If you spend even 5 minutes a day in your strengths, it's going to energize you for the rest of the day. And when you know what those things are, you can purposely schedule them in. So I'm going to do a little bit more explanation of finding out what it is that you need to be doing with your strengths when we get back from break. And then we'll keep talking about getting really, really focused and clear. And I've got another couple exercises for you to really narrow down what it is that you're doing. So again, I'm Carla Taylor. This is Bring Your Brilliance, and we are on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back.
We all have a personal brand. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. What if you knew how to clearly and confidently communicate your value in a compelling way? Tune in to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor to discover the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to get started and keep growing. Are you ready to make your mark? Learn how to bring your brilliance by listening to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor. To join today's conversation, call in the U.S. at 815-880-8255 or Canada at 613-800-8736 or Skype at Inspired Choices Network. Or ask a question or send a comment by email at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Whoops, welcome back to Bring Your Brilliance. I'm Carla Taylor, and we are here on Inspired Choices Network. We're talking about getting clarity in 2020, and we've been talking a lot about having time out, time to pause. And again, that's the most important thing you can do to get clarity. You've got to take some time completely out to pause and reflect and recalibrate and realign so that you can move forward faster after the pause. So we've talked about the pause. We've talked about aligning with your values. We've talked about having the clarity of where you're going 5 years from now. And if you missed it, go back and listen on the podcast too. I actually walked you a little bit through a visualization as well as giving you some instructions for writing that letter to yourself from 5 years from now. And then you want to make sure you've got that aligned with your yeses, clear yeses and nos, and your money-making activities. And right before break, we were talking about ways to energize yourself as you're going through that, as well as knowing where you want to spend your time, which is focusing on your strengths. And again, this is a process. There's a wonderful Gallup test called StrengthsFinder 2.0. That's a wonderful, wonderful test. It's a wonderful assessment and place to start. When I did that for the first time, I was partly amazed at how accurate it was for me in the descriptions, but I was also partly even disappointed because I thought, well, yeah, that's just who I am. It's not that significant or unusual or, I wanted to hear some amazing new thing. And that is the beauty of strengths. That's actually the power of strengths is it is not a big deal to you because it's your strength. So you almost take it for granted that you can do that one thing or those things really, really well when, well, that's not a big deal. That's easy for me. Exactly. The things that come naturally to you, the things that are easy for you, the things that is just how your brain works are your strengths. And that's what actually makes you different. And that's part of your differentiator of, this is what you're known for. This is what people can count on you for. So if people are coming to you, asking you questions, a great example, actually last year at Thanksgiving, I had a woman at my house who loved Excel spreadsheets, and she was really, really good at them, and they were really fun for her, and she could figure it out really quickly, and she loved spending time in Excel. And for many of us, that is not fun. And that is not how our brain works, and that is not the highlight of our day. And so the also wonderful things about strengths is other people have different strengths from you. And so one of the ways to move forward faster and get to where you're trying to go as quickly as possible is to leverage your strengths. Know what to ask for more of for yourself, but also who are the people that you can, if I'd called her to do a spreadsheet for me, what I would have taken 5 hours to do, she might have been able to do in 5 or 10 minutes. So knowing your strengths, but also building your network of other people with complementary strengths is another important piece of being able to accomplish your goals and get more done. So that's part of the clarity that's important for you to have as you're adding things to your plate that, yes, are aligned to your values, and yes, they're money-making activities of what you want to do. But even within that, there's a lot of ways to make money. There's a lot of ways to put your business together. And so make sure you're doing the things that really fit for you, because you have the power to create what you want it to be. And that includes making sure you do have time in your strengths every single day. And you won't even imagine how much this can change your life. I have done a lot of work with creating content and being an instructional designer and actually putting together adult learning and education. And I love the discovery phase. I love asking questions. I love the strategy. I love figuring out how things fit together. There's a lot of strengths for me within that process. But sometimes all the detailed piece of it and just putting things together and going through iterations of editing, which is, of course, a necessary part of it, but that's not so fun for me. And if I have to spend all day, every day in front of a computer and not talking to people, I am not in my strengths. I am feeling really isolated and in a vacuum. And for me, that is not my strength. And I know for some people, they're good with that. But for me, that literally can bring me to my knees. And there have been times in my life where I've had big projects that I've been really excited about, but now I'm in the crank it out mode. And I sometimes get really low energy. And I've even, wondered if I was depressed and, different things. And then I realized, wait a minute, I know better. I know how to figure out I'm missing my strengths. I totally forgot to put that into my schedule. And so I'll start adding maybe a breakfast meeting or a 5-minute phone call with a friend or whatever. But I'll schedule something, even if I'm very busy, I'll schedule at least a 5 to 10 minute window into my day to make sure I'm doing something that brings me energy. And all of a sudden, everything shifts. And I'm now back to my old self, and I'm energized, and I'm happy, and I'm doing the things, even when I've got a lot of stuff on my plate that aren't in my strengths. I now know how to craft my life, and I'm so clear on that I have that clarity that I need to be able to manage my life as I'm working on things. So this is a really powerful thing for you to do for yourself. And you're the only one who knows. You're the only one who knows how things make you feel. Other people can see sometimes, but a lot of times they're like, oh, well, you're really good at that because you do it all the time. But maybe that thing is actually something that takes your energy away and is draining you. So you're the one who knows what really makes you feel amazing and which of those things to make sure that you're putting into your day. And it's really up to you. Even if you work for someone else and you're not a business builder, you have the ability to, you have lunchtime, you have breaks, you have time, even tiny bits of time to do the things that you need to do to keep yourself energized. Okay, so I love strengths. I could talk about that all day, but we're getting back to focusing, so I'm going to focus myself back on that. And here's now where you really want to dig in and get honed in. So I don't know about you, but I always have a million ideas and different things that I want to do, and I get excited about, and I write all these lists, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm in overwhelm. So here's a technique, a tool that can really, really help you if you have a lot more things than you can possibly accomplish on your list and what you want to do. And what's great about it is you can accomplish them all eventually, but you can't do them all at once. So first I want you to start with just 10 things that you want to work on. And for some of you, 10 might be more than you were thinking. But for a lot of you, you have a lot more than 10 things in your head. So normally we can kind of come up with our list of top 10. And from there, write out from those 10 things that you want to accomplish, what is it that's going to do for you? What will it do to help you? Is this a money-making activity? Whatever it is that are your parameters for what's important for you to be working on right now, write that out for each of the 10 so that you have a really good idea of what that's going to mean for where you're going. And again, we're talking about the big picture, big reflection time right now. This is not something that you would do on a day-to-day basis with your to-do list. But things that you want to accomplish or ways that you want to create your business or whatever else, this is what we're talking about, where you'd spend a little bit more time fleshing all of this out. Once you have that, though, then immediately cut that list in half. So now you're only looking at 5. And usually we can do a pretty good job of getting down to 5. If you need help, though, find someone to talk that through with and keep going. But once you have your 5, you probably will do all 5 of those things fairly soon. But you can only focus on one at a time. And there's this amazing exercise that I've actually seen visually in a room where people did this with people to show you the difference. But imagine you've got 10 people in a row, and you need to get them from the start line to the finish line. So you can either have one person pushing that person to the finish line. That's how you're getting them across the room. You can go back and forth and run between them all and to have each of them take one step or one of them take 2 steps and run back and forth. And you can imagine all that wasted time of running back and forth between all the people. Or you can choose one and move that person all the way to the finish line, and then the next one, and then the next one. And you're so much more focused and streamlined and efficient in getting everyone to the finish line. And we actually time it out in the room, and you can see the visual of this. But this is kind of what we're doing when we're trying to do 1,000 million things at once, and we're running back and forth between all activities, and we get distracted, and we're getting ready to do this, and then all of a sudden we're on that. And I know that happens. That's part of how my brain works when I'm not focused. So when I get really, really focused and I've got those 10 things and then I narrow them down to 5, then I want to get down to just one. And this part of the exercise is something that you can do on a day-to-day basis if you are having trouble narrowing down, is you take the 10, you've narrowed it down to 1, and I have people or to 5, sorry. I have people write it out on index cards or Post-it notes so they can look at them individually. And so then you, from that stack of index cards, let's say, from the 5, then you're going to go down to 3, and then you're going to go down to the one thing that you want to do first. And that can sometimes be a little bit painful, but if you have somebody, or yourself you're going to do it in a minute and you have a time on it, you'll do it and you'll figure it out and you'll do that thing. And if you want a little bit more of a process around this, I do have a really great exercise for this as well. It's a forced choice comparison exercise that really gets you focused on what matters most to you. So again, if you want that exercise, just send me an email, say, hey, I want that prioritization exercise with helping me really compare everything to each other so I know what's my most important. But this other method that I just described is just a really quick, easy way to do it, to gut instinct immediately. You can have it, like I said, in Post-it notes or cards in front of you and say, okay, this is the one. And that's the one that you're going to focus on first. So you've narrowed this down. You've got one thing that you're going to do first. And then you need to break that down into action steps. So you got one big thing, and now you break it down into 3 action steps that you're going to take first. So there might be a lot more than 3 action steps to get that one thing done, but you start with the first 3. And you can only ever have 3 things on your plate at one time. This is actually a technique that a lot of people use in the Agile methodology and that sort of thing, is to only have 3 things on your plate at any given time. Once you accomplish those 3, or even one of the 3, then you can bring another one up onto your plate. But do not have more than 3 things at one time. So you could have this backlog of the things that are going to come on next, but only keep 3 things on your plate at one time. And that's what we're going to get down into more of this day-to-day and week-to-week approach of how to get yourself really, really focused on taking the action steps that you need to get to where you want to go. Again, I'm Carla Taylor. We are getting ready to take our 3rd and final break of the show. We'll finish out the show with some additional information on what you're doing as you're building this focus and building towards where you're going. So again, my name is Carla Taylor. We're on the Bring Your Brilliance radio show here on Inspired Choices Network. We're talking about getting clarity in 2020, and we'll be right back.
We all have a personal brand. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. What if you knew how to clearly and confidently communicate your value in a compelling way? Tune into the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor to discover the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to get started and keep growing. Are you ready to make your mark? Learn how to bring your brilliance by listening to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor. To join today's conversation, call in the U.S. at 815-880-8255 or Canada at 613-800-8736 or Skype at Inspired Choices Network. Or ask a question or send a comment by email at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to Bring Your Brilliance. I'm Carla Taylor, and we are here on Inspired Choices Network, and we're talking today about getting clarity in 2020. And one of the things that I mentioned earlier is that I have put together this incredible offer and this incredible deal for you. And if you're anything like me, hearing about these things can be helpful, but I'm really a visual thinker. And so having the visuals and having something that you can use to track what you're doing and track your progress is incredibly important. And so my offer to you, and again, I have never offered anything like this, especially at this price. I normally charge thousands of dollars to work with me directly. I charge hundreds of dollars to work in mastermind groups with other people on this. But if you want to get this system for yourself today, it is $37 right now for my Black Friday special. And even the system that you will be able to get in the future is going to be $197. So if you are listening, and actually here's an offer to you. If you are listening to this podcast or replay or radio show in the future, even if it's not Black Friday, you can still get this deal. So simply send me an email at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com and say, hey, Carla, I want that $37 deal that you offered at Black Friday. I heard it on your podcast, and you told me I could get it. Or all you have to say is, hey, give me that $37 deal, because the only reason you're sending me that email is because you've heard this. But I'll give it to you. I will honor this no matter when you hear this replay of the show, because I really want whoever is really wanting this to have it. So I will not be offering it publicly, though. I will not be offering it after next week. So this is the only way you are going to be able to get to that price. It will never be this low again. So $37 for the 90-day acceleration system, which will include a digital download of my 90-day planner. And I'm getting ready to tell you a little bit about what is in that. And this is actually part of the system that will help you be focused. But this is your opportunity to get it that way. So again, send me an email, bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com, and I will honor that for you. Or if you're even just trying to get it right now, go ahead and send me that email. So we were talking about narrowing down to one thing. And once you have the one thing that you're going to work on first, you want to break it into bite-sized tasks. And within those tasks, again, you might have 10 or 20 or 30 or however many tasks to get to it. You want to only do 3 at once, 3 things on your plate at once. There's some really great tools that you can use, even just pen and paper, but I really like Trello. If you've never used it, it's Trello, and it's a visual way for you to keep track of what you have on your calendar at any given time on your to-do list. And you can move things. It's actually a visual representation with these little, they call them cards, that you could move from list to list, and it's really, really cool. It's really user-friendly and really easy. But however you track it and however you do it, you want to have a system where you only have 3 things. So if you've ever heard, like Stephen Covey talks about the rocks and the process of, there's a visual exercise that a lot of people do to illustrate this, where you have a jar and you have rocks and you have pebbles and you have sand and you have all these things. And if you put all the sand in first and then you put in the pebbles and then you try to put the big rocks in, you cannot fit very much in after you've put in the sand and the pebbles. You really can't get the big rocks into that jar. However, if you put the big rocks in first, and then you put in the smaller rocks, and then you put in the pebbles, and then you put in the sand, you can fit everything into that same jar. And that's how it is with our time. So focus on your big rocks first, your 3 big rocks. And this is what you want to do when you pause every day and every week, is to what are your 3 big rocks for the week? And then what are your 3 big rocks for the day to get to those 3 big rocks for the week? And that will get you super focused on what it is that you need to be doing each day and each week to accomplish your goals. All the other stuff will fit in around those big rocks. But put those big rocks on your calendar, time block your calendar, and fit everything else in around them. And that is how you can get so much more done. So when you're looking at all of that, and part of what you're going to get in the planner and in the acceleration system is a way to track this weekly and daily approach to taking action and building your assets. And what you're going to be doing every day and every week is every time you're building a new asset for your brand or for your company, you are now also organizing your assets. You have a list of the different assets. You're not trying to repeat or duplicate things that you've already done because you've got a great organization system for continuing to build things that you can draw from, that you can build upon, your content library, your marketing tools, whatever it is that are your assets. You should be building assets from the actions that you're taking. Assets could even be connections and people that you know that can help you along the way. And so by having a way to organize and focus and have a system, you're focusing on those 3 rocks, you're focusing on getting things done, you've determined what's important to you, you know where you're going in the big picture, and you are going to get places that you never even dreamed possible. If you've been spending a lot of time rocking in that rocking chair, being really, really busy, but not really getting anywhere, this is going to change your life. You will have different results than you've ever had because you're doing things differently than you've ever done. So even if you do none of those things and all you do is pause to reflect on where you're going and then keep going from there, you are going to find that you will be so much more focused and you will be so much more effective as you're moving forward in your life. The other thing that is so important to have is accountability. So assets, action, and accountability are what we track in the planner. And accountability is somebody who's helping you stay accountable to what it is you said you're going to do. They are going to keep you on track. They are going to check in with you and make sure you've done what you said you were going to do. They are going to cheer you on when you're having a bad day. Find at least one person to meet with weekly, even if it's a 15-minute meeting and you're both holding each other accountable, and you can be really laser focused, especially when you have the tools to do so. And you can say, okay, what are your 3 big rocks? What are you working on? What have you accomplished? What are your assets? You can get really streamlined. You can get really focused, and you can get really connected with someone who is going to make that difference in your life. For me, I actually have 3 people that I do this with, and I get something different out of each one of those things. And one of them is an hour, one of them is half an hour, and one of them is 15 minutes, depending on the time that they have. But again, having that accountability is huge. It will move you forward faster. Having multiple people, having a mastermind group of people who can help solve problems is also a really important way to do that. And if you're looking for a mastermind group, I'm getting ready to launch those in January. You'll be hearing a lot more about them in December. But I really want to help people come together with other people who are working hard to achieve your goals, to build your brand, to bring your brilliance out into the world. You have so many gifts and so many messages to share, and so many people who need to hear them. And when you can get really focused and clear on what it is that you're doing, those people can find you, you can make a big impact, you can make a big difference, and you can bring your brilliance to the world. So again, this is your reminder to be authentic, be you, be brilliant, and bring your gifts out to the world. This is Carla Taylor. Send me an email at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com or go to bringyourbrilliance.net for more information.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Bring Your Brilliance with Carla Taylor. For the latest updates and info on personal branding, please follow and interact with Carla Taylor on LinkedIn. And be sure to visit www.itstimetoBringIt.com. Join Carla Taylor every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then,